heavens. And so because we know the word, we understand what we're supposed to do.
That's right.
When Mamie get ready to bake her cobbler, she knows the recipe by heart, but she got to follow the recipe, Mother Term. She got to follow the recipe. We have in Romans, ladies and gentlemen, the recipe for salvation. Right. So when we finish with studying it today, I want you to say in your mind, I'm gonna go home and read Romans because I truly want to know the recipe to salvation. The lesson is taken from Romans 1, 8 through 17, and then, as Onika stated, the devotional reading, Psalm 71, 1 through 6. Every now and then, while we're teaching, I want you to just whisper the power of the gospel. Power of the gospel. You know, we know the NES has the power, don't we call it the electrical power, you know, and we step into this room, when we stepped in, the lights were already on, but somebody flipped them on.
That's right.
And if we had no power, it wouldn't have come on.
That's right.
We need the power to live the life. Whatever you're going through in your life, you need the power. And the power is found in the words. We have to know the word. That's why we're here. That's why you're here, because you want to know the word. We need to understand that we must encourage each other. Right. We talked about how important it is that we gather at the church. We need to encourage each other. You know, every now and then. In fact, whoever's sitting on your seat or whoever's sitting near to you, I ain't gonna tell you to touch them because y'all know how I feel about that. Just turn around and say to them, be encouraged.
Be encouraged. Be encouraged.
Because somebody, be encouraged. Somebody may be going through something today. You never know when people around you are going through something. And sometimes we come and you might have a smile on your face, but you still might be going through something. It may be something medical. Sometimes there's a struggle going on in our mind. Y'all know about our minds, don't you know how messed up they can get? And when you sit in solidation, when you sit in solitaire, your mind, Satan will come in and start telling you, they don't care nothing about you. Ain't nobody called you have it. That's the kind of. But when you gather, you realize that Satan is, first of all, he's a liar. And he's an imitator. You need to tell him to get to stepping. Because what he's saying ain't true. Yeah. Okay. I got an outline, y'all. For some reason, I get off track. The aim for change, by the end of this lesson, we will discern, we'll start to understand the power of God as illustrated in Paul's faith. Paul is the writer of the book of Romans. Paul has written 1st and 2nd Corinthians, but many of us have an idea about who Paul is. It's one thing for you to say you know somebody, it's another one to really know them. And so Donna is going to tell us, the reason why I was hunting for Donna so hard, because I think I called her Wednesday or Thursday. Donna's going to tell us what happened with Paul before his name changed. He was Saul. Y'all remember that? Yeah. Y'all know about Saul? Yeah. Okay, Saul was what? Donna, come tell us about Saul. You don't have to come down here, but you need to talk where they can hear you. Saul was what now?
Saul was an angry guy.
An angry guy.
Saul, he was later called Paul. And his name was in honor of the first king of Israel. According to Acts 8:1, Saul was a witness to Stephen's death.
Yeah.
And Stephen was a prophet of great faith. And they stoned him. And Saul, he was he was happy about that.
Yes.
And like back in, I went back to 1 Samuel 6:29, where David spared Saul's life, just as Stephen did. Well, they asked the Lord to spare his life. And they both had the same reason. It was because Saul was the Lord's anointed one. And and I'm gonna go on when Saul was on the road to Damascus. He was getting angry and angry.
Wait a minute. Okay, so you told us about Saul. We want Donald's task was to tell us about Saul before the Damascus Road, because we have somebody else that's got an assignment to tell us what happened on the Damascus Road. Okay, so thank you, Don. Thank you for the homework. You see the extra length she went to?
Yeah.
Besides what's, sometimes we sit down and we read our book, but she went extra.
Yeah.
And this Saul is not to be confused. This Saul is not to be confused with the king Saul.
Okay.
That's not to be confused, okay?
Okay.
This is different. It's just like my name is Shirley, but there's a bunch of Shirleys in the word. That was a different king. Saul was a different king. This Saul was persecutor of the Christians. And you're right. He witnessed the first martyr stoning of Stephen.
Yeah.
Saul was there. And that you said he was glad because it was victorious, and he was on his way to persecute the Christians. On his way to persecute the Christians. This is the writer of the book that we're getting ready to study. He was the writer. And later on, Connie's going to come forward and tell us about what happened to him on the Damascus Road.
I was gonna let Donna go on and do that, but anyway. Okay, Paul.
I need you to stand.
You make Donna stand.
She didn't stand. She was standing in my mind. Okay.
Paul's conversion on the Damascus Road, Acts 9 tells the story of a third person narrative. As he near Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. And he fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? So they led him by the hand into Damascus. Paul, who went by the name of Saul at that time, as Donald stated, was on his way to Damascus with a letter from the high priest of the temple in Jerusalem. The story of Paul's conversion on the road to Damascus is told in Acts 9, 1 through 19, and retold by Paul in Acts 22 through 6 through 21, and Acts 26, 12 through 18. Saul of Tarsus, a Pharisee in Jerusalem after the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ, swore to wipe out the new Christian church called the Way.
Right.
Acts 9:1 says that Paul was breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. Saul obtained letters from the high priest authorizing him to arrest any followers of Jesus in the city of Damascus. On the road of Damascus, Saul and his companions were struck down by a blinding light. Saul heard a voice say, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? When Saul asked who was speaking, the voice replied, I am Jesus, whom you persecute. Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do.
Okay, so we understand who the writer is of this book.
Right.
Romans, if you have your Bibles, and we should have our Bibles along with our book. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, every Friday, I believe, I post on Ephesians page the Sunday school lessons, the scriptures. If you don't have a book, and I think Darcy's getting ready to order a new set of books, but if you don't have a book, you can find it on Ephesians Facebook page, the lesson for today. Romans, Paul's greatest work, y'all, is placed first among the 13 epistles in the New Testament. While the 4 Gospels present the words and the works of Jesus Christ, Romans explores the significance of his sacrificial death using a question and answer format. Paul records the most systematic presentation of the doctrine in the Bible. Romans is more than a look at theology. It is also a book of practical exhortation, a practical book of the way to live for Christ. The good news of Jesus Christ is more than facts to be believed. It is also a life to be lived.
Okay.
More than facts to believe,
Right.
Yeah.
but a life to be lived. A life of righteousness befitting the person.
Okay.
Justified freely by God, grace through the redemption that is in Jesus Christ. Although some manuscripts omit Romans, The title to the Romans has been associated with the epistle almost from the beginning. So we find ourselves in this lesson looking at Paul wanting to go to Rome.
Right.
Rome at that time was considered, the place. There were a lot of other places beyond there, but Rome was the place. And Paul had been traveling, but he desired to go to Rome. This is the Rome. He says it in the early part. We start off in the 8th verse. But before that, he says that the Apostle Paul had never visited the church in Rome, but he greatly desired to do so. The Roman church was strategically located for world evangelism. In his letter to the Romans, Paul does not address any particular need, problem, or doctrinal error. He does in other books, y'all.
Right.
He addresses some issues in different churches. Paul presents a deeply theological discussion of major Christian doctrine.
All right.
Major Christian doctrine. The church was renowned for its faith and spiritual maturity. He's addressing Romans. And he said, the apostle purpose was to establish the young church in the faith as deeply as possible. Every pastor, every leader ought to want to see his people grow. That's a desire. You want to see other people. You want to see other numbers grow. That's the reason why when you look around in church school, there's not many people. You wonder if people really want to grow. You can't grow if you don't feast on the word.
That's right.
There can be no maturity. A baby still drinking a bottle at 16 years old got a problem. Am I right?
Right.
Huh? When trials of life come up against you, and you have nothing but a bottle, you'll be in a terrible fix, right?
Yeah.
So we have to mature as Christians, and the only way we can mature, y'all, is through the word. You got to know the word. You got to feast on it, but you got to love it.
Yeah.
The word is important. So the first outline tells us Paul's prayer and his request. The first outline, and turn to your books, because I'm reading from the NLT. Let me say first that I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith in him is being talked about all over the world. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if people were saying, down in Ephesians, now they some shouting folk, but they're doing more than just shouting. Wouldn't it be nice? That's what he's saying. I've heard about you. That's what he told me. I've heard about you, and I want to visit you because of what I've heard.
Right.
This is what he's saying in that first verse. God knows how often I pray for you. Day and night, I bring you and your needs in prayer.
Okay.
I lost my place.
Verse 9.
I know. Day and night. Okay. Whom I serve with all my heart by spreading the good news about his son. That's our task.
Right.
I don't know who you come in contact with every day, but your responsibility is, and it's not always what you say. Sometimes it's what you do.
What you do.
A sermon is better seen than it is heard.
Right.
Y'all the one that came up with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I always pray for is the opportunity, God willing, to come at last to see you. This is what he said to the church of Rome. For I long to visit you so I can bring you some spiritual gifts that will help you to grow strong in the Lord. Spiritual gifts. That's why we have church school,
That's right.
vacation Bible school,
Right.
Bible study,
Right.
preaching. That's why, because if you stay in the word, you gotta get strong. The word will do what the word will do. Am I right?
That's right.
He said his word won't return to him void. When you study his word, there's gonna be some growth.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, the same stuff that used to rattle your boat last year shouldn't be rattling your boat. Check yourself. Can't nobody check you, Tina, like you can check you. You know when you're still getting rattled, when certain people still rattle you.
Okay.
Come on now. At some point, there's got to be some growth.
I know.
At some things, at some point, there's got to be a growth. There's got to be some maturity. There's got to be some maturity.
Say it.
If I got two small great grandbabies, I call them Smash and Dash, Jeremiah and Sebastian. Well, when they got toward a year old, I was wondering, why ain't they walking?
Okay.
Why ain't they walking?
Right.
Everybody said, yeah, sure right. Is the twins walking? Not yet. If they'd have still been crawling now,
Okay.
we'd have a problem.
Right.
we would have a problem. That's the same thing with us, y'all.
Yeah.
If you still clouding, if everything that goes on still rattle you, you know, you so concerned about what somebody else is doing, you still clouding.
Right.
It's time to walk. It's time to walk. And you can't do it unless you're in the Word. You can't do it unless you're in the Word. But see, it don't even know what you're doing. I got to check me.
That's right.
I got to check me. I got to be in the Word myself.
Yeah.
You know, them niggas
That's right.
you know how we say, doing this and doing that. That's not the way it works. Yeah, we said. Yeah, we'll say it in a minute. Now, what are you doing?
That's right.
Why do you want me to live so much holier than you live?
Come on.
Come on.
We do it, don't we? Because you don't know the word. You know why you say that? Because you leave the word right here.
On the table.
Leave it right here and refuse to study. So you end up weak. Okay, so he said, when we get together, I want to encourage you in your faith. That's why we come together. But I also want to be encouraged by you.
Hey.
Every now and then, Mother Turner, you need to say something kind to me. Every now and then, I need to be, you pick up the phone sometime and call you and tell me, I'm praying for you. You know what? I hate to, you know, you get older, you start thinking. I never forget Benny Allen. Y'all know Benny. Benny, if he walked past me 1,000 times, he wouldn't say nothing. Even when I had left Ephesians. Oh Lord, why am I trying to walk in his ear? He would just walk past me and lay his hand on my shoulder. He had no idea what that meant.
Okay.
Had no idea what that meant.
Right.
It was his way of saying, I'm encouraging you.
Hang on there.
Yeah, hang on in, I'm encouraging you. We need to be encouragers of each other. Stop running me down. I talk too much, yeah. Don't run me down because I pray for me that I'll be able to hold my tongue. Sometimes it need to be said, but sometimes some things don't need to be said.
Right.
But don't talk about it. Pray for me and then tell me. Sometimes you need to shut your mouth. That's how we have to do when you love people. That's what you do. You don't talk about it behind the back. You tell them. You tell them. But that's not in this lesson. But anyway, he said, but listen to this, I have a great sense of obligation. We have an obligation to each other.
Right.
We have an obligation because if you're weak, Joe, all of us are weak.
That's right.
Okay, I skipped it. Okay, thank you, Joe. I want you to know, dear brothers and sisters, that I planned many times to visit you, but I was prevented until now.
Something got in the way.
Yeah.
That's right.
See, huh? Oh, so, okay, what happened was, he was on his way there, but somebody got to tell him lies.
Right.
Won't we do it?
Right.
Yeah.
Saying stuff we don't even know what we're talking about. Picking up that old phone.
Yeah.
Saying stuff we don't know what we're talking about, and they ended up locking him up. Satan will allow you to do some things, y'all. And sometimes we say the devil made me do it. Sometimes I wonder we didn't make the devil do some things.
You blame it on him
We
now.
blame it on anybody. Okay. I want you to know, dear brothers and sisters, that I planned many times to visit you, but I was prevented until now. I want to work among you and see the spiritual fruit, just as I've seen among the Gentiles. See, remember the word came for the Jews first.
Right.
But then to the Gentiles. That's us, y'all. We were adopted
That's us.
through Jesus Christ. He told me, he said, I wanted to come and I wanted to see what you're doing. And then I wanted you to be able to encourage me. When something good or something good happens in your life, it's an encouragement to me. Why should I be jealous? If it's good for you, it's good for me. I'm next in line, as Shirley Caesar would say. I'm next in line for a blessing. And every time you wake up in the morning, you got a blessing. You may not see it, but you got a blessing. And if you didn't wake up, you got a blessing because you're a believer. So you got eternal life. He said, I have a great sense of obligation to both people, a great sense of obligation to people in both the civilized world and the rest of the world, to educate the educated and the uneducated alike. To all people. Yes, sir.
Have them turn to Acts 27.
Acts 27.
Yeah, verse 13. So they can see what happened to how Paul was prevented
Okay,
from.
Acts 27.
Yes, ma'am. Some stuff blowing you like.
Acts 27:13.
What does it say? Remember, when you're reading the New Testament, you got to read the book of Acts before you read anything in the New Testament, because that's the commentary.
It says, when the south wind blew southward,
That's right.
supposing that they had obtained their desire, putting out to sea, they sailed close by Crete.
That's it.
But not long. Oh, so they were on their way.
Yeah.
They were on their way.
And what happened? That south wind blew.
And a storm came. When a storm comes,
Oh.
it'll come in your life. You know, even though sometimes they tell you a storm is coming, it's nothing like it when it finally comes and you realize, well, it's storming outside. You may not, you didn't know it was coming because you're not the weatherman, but the weatherman don't really know when it's coming.
That's right.
Life presents storms.
Come on. It'll blow, won't it?
Yeah. A storm will come and uproot what you had planned. Won't it? But you got to realize Jeremiah 29:11.
What it say?
That bracelet I
Yes,
left, I guess I left it in Plano by the swimming pool. I know the
The
plan
plans
that
I have
for
for you.
You can plan all you want to, but he got a plan for you. So we have to learn how to yield and be obedient. We wrestle with obedience.
One
Yes,
more,
ma'am.
Sister Teacher.
Uh-huh.
Y'all turn, stay, Acts 27, verse 44.
Stay in Acts.
Yeah.
Verse 44.
Yeah, there's one word in there. Don't miss your
44.
verse 44, Acts 27, what it say?
Oh yeah, we heard that sound.
Come on, that's right.
Bits and pieces.
Come on.
Wait a minute. And the rest, some on board, some on parts of the ship,
Broken.
and so it was that they all escaped safely to land. Y'all remember?
Broken.
Yeah.
pieces.
On broken pieces.
That's why they couldn't
Yeah.
get there.
On broken
Yeah.
pieces. The ship was shipwrecked.
Come on.
Tow up. They all escaped, but they got it in on broken pieces. Sometimes you got to be broken
Yeah.
for him to use you. You got to be broken. Sometimes we walk around like we ain't never been broken. It's something once you're broken, you realize that he's the one that holds you.
Yeah.
He's the one that holds you. Because on broken pieces, he said they floated on in.
That's it. I'm
They
broken.
floated to the shore on broken pieces.
Broken pieces.
On broken pieces. Thank you, Pastor.
You're welcome.
So I'm eager to come to you because he know what he been through.
Right.
I'm eager to come to you in Rome to preach what? What that said? The good news.
That's it.
The good news. Then maybe I want you to tell us about, he said, I am not ashamed
Okay.
of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Huh?
Well, yeah.
But it is the power of God at work, saving everyone who believes, the Jew first and also the Gentile. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Sometimes because we refuse to study, you wonder sometimes people not ashamed.
That's right.
Let's be ashamed.
But he said, if you're ashamed to own him before man, he'll be ashamed.
Oh, I tell you.
Why did Paul need to say he's not ashamed? Why did he need to say that, man? I had actually assigned that to somebody else, but he said he was going to be an orientation. Dexter, tell me why did he need to say that?
Why do you need to say that?
Yeah.
Because we shouldn't be ashamed of the gospel, because the gospel is what saved us.
Right. He
And
said,
so we ought to be able to go out and witness no matter where we are. God died for us
Right.
that we might be saved. And it is our choice. He's not going to make it, but it's our choice to be saved. So no, I shouldn't be scared to go. I used to be, because sometimes we can live so raggedy.
Yeah, people know your lifestyle.
And people looking at you. They'll say, well, first you need to get yourself right, and you come to me.
And sometimes they'll say, are you a Christian? I didn't know you were a Christian.
but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's the reason why we have to understand, and y'all, I want y'all to do a word study on imputed righteousness.
Imputed.
Right.
Give it to you.
Imputed righteousness.
Imputed righteousness.
See, because there's no righteousness in you anyway.
That's
When
right.
people say, look at you, you tell them the same God that saved me to save you.
Imputed.
And
Yeah,
without God, you just filthy rags.
yes, that's all you are anyway.
Without God.
Without God, we are nothing. He said it's his righteousness. See, I have no righteousness.
Right.
It's imputed righteousness. That means he transferred it over to me. His righteousness
Yeah.
is because of him. I made righteous. I used this example before. If I was going to Mamie's house and I don't have a key, but Nina's with me.
Nina,
got a
key.
Right.
Nina, you got a key.
Nina got a key.
You sure? You sure you got a key?
She got a key. But somebody stopped me and said, why are you going in Mamie's house? I'm with Nina. She got a key. That's what he did. Because we're too raggedy to come before the Father. So he brought his son in our stead to let us know, yeah, you can walk on in because of what he did on the cross. Imputed righteousness. Took me a long time. Took me a long time to understand what happened. That word imputed. He stepped in my place.
Yeah.
So that I could come before the Father. Because we so raggedy. Y'all know we are. We so raggedy.
Yeah.
We pitiful.
Without you yourself, there ain't no righteousness in
No,
self.
ain't no righteousness in self. We have to recognize that. There's no good in you.
Right.
Why you try to say you good?
Yeah.
You're a lie. The truth ain't in you. But it's because of his righteousness that I can come. Yes, sir, Dexter.
I just want to add this too.
Yes, sir.
It is through believing on the gospel of Christ,
Believe.
Right. Believe it.
which is the dead, buried, and resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ alone. That we are saved. For him alone is their salvation. To everyone who believes, and as we said, the Jews first, and then the Gentiles.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's the bottom
We don't
line.
That's the
have
bottom
the
line.
ability to say
No, we don't have, no. All you can do is tell them.
Right.
And then a lot of times you can't even tell them. You need to live it.
Right.
Live it, and then knowing that it's not because of you, but because of Christ. Because of Christ. The first outline says Paul's prayer and request. His prayer was for the Romans and that he would be able to visit. The second outline is Paul's theme. Paul was aware of the Christian obligation to people regardless of their ethnicity or beliefs. Regardless of what they believe. The same Jesus that died for me, died for you. That same Jesus.
You gotta believe that.
That is why he was so eager to preach the gospel of Rome. When we know this, the eagerness to share the word ought to be there.
All right.
Those in Rome need not think that Paul did not have much confidence in the gospel, which he had been preaching. That's why he said, that's why he made that statement. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Paul was a man of stature, y'all. He had studied in the best of school.
Right.
He wasn't no Johnny come away. You know, some of us really like to really drop names and stuff. Paul wasn't no, you know.
Right.
And he told him, I'm not ashamed to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ because I know it's power to the believer.
Yeah.
But you got to believe it.
Yeah.
You got to believe it. You got to check yourself and say, what do I believe?
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't really know what we believe. It's why we stand on shaky ground about some things. Yes, ma'am.
Some of them probably knew Paul's history.
Yes, sir.
And
When
you
we
know,
bring it up,
We as a people, we won't let God can change it, but we won't say, we'll go back. I remember when.
yeah, we bring
We
it up.
remember when they were hanging out in the club.
Yeah,
When they were getting high every night.
yeah.
We remember, but we can't accept the fact that God has changed them.
He changed you.
Yeah, he changed.
You know, we always expect other people to do so much better than we're doing. But like you said, well, they'll bring up your past.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they'll bring up your past. Sometimes they can't remember their past. So busy bringing up yours. You know, yeah, they stay in that. He said, Paul simply states, that's the 16th verse, y'all. I am not ashamed of the gospel. Paul is not ashamed of the gospel for two reasons. For it is the power of God unto salvation. Whenever believers share the gospel message with an unbeliever, they tap into the unlimited power of God.
Okay.
The God of salvation sent the good news of Christ so that people would believe and receive. That's what happened with us. We believed and then we received. It wasn't anything you did. You heard.
You heard.
Teach.
Teach.
Somebody had to teach us.
Teach and preach.
We had, and then you had to hear it,
Carry out
and then you had to believe it. See, sometimes we, you know how when mama used to call you and say, come in to dinner, you know you heard. But you didn't want to come that first time. So when you get there, she said, did you hear me call? I didn't hear you the first time. Lying. But sometimes we hear, but we don't listen.
Listen.
To the believer. Paul is also not ashamed of the gospel because through it, righteousness of God is revealed. The righteousness that comes from God restores believers to a right relationship with God. Perfect righteousness is not the result of good deeds.
No.
Good deeds will come,
Can't work your way.
but you can't work your way through it. Rather, it is a righteousness that is by faith. Faith is both a single act and a continuing attitude.
Okay?
Single act.
As we continue in our Christian walk and our loyalty and obedience matures to trust and devotion. It matures because you train it. You know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Y'all remember? Who don't know A, B, C, D, E, F, G now? I don't care how old y'all.
Okay.
You could be named A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Will always be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right?
No.
Because some along the way you've heard it so many times. It's that's how we have to seek the word, y'all. It becomes a part of who we are. That you mature in this thing. It comes with time, but it also comes with working on. To love somebody that you didn't like, it takes practice. It takes practice. Some of us is not really lovable.
Yeah, sometimes the love
Somebody you love, it takes work.
Some of us.
Work on me. Love somebody you love.
You have to be intentional. He wants you to work on that. He wants us to, the habits that you have, the bad habits that you have, didn't just happen. Keena's not here because she asked us to pray for her for smoking. And that's a habit that's gained for years and years and years. And it ain't gonna stop overnight, but you can work on it. Instead of me saying those strong lot of words, sometimes I'll use another word instead. I got to work on it. And as the preacher was saying, I'm at work in progress.
That's it.
Little bit at a time. You chip away at it a little bit at a time. But the same thing with love. You have to love people. You have to practice the love. Practice it.
Well, Peter tells us to grow in grace.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And knowledge.
He said, grow in grace.
Yeah, you got to pray. You got to pray. Yeah, you definitely got to pray. Yeah, it's got to be, I got it down here, intentional. Intentional to walk in obedience. Yes, sir.
Turn to Acts 9:21. I maybe made that point of people not letting go of your past. Joe said.
Acts 9:21.
Yeah, sure. They ain't gonna let Paul live that down. Look at what they said about it.
They brought it up time
They
and
brought
time.
it up, man. Acts 9:21.
Somebody read that for us.
But all that heard him were amazed and said, is not this he that destroyed them which called on his name in Jerusalem and came hither for that intent,
See?
that he might bring them bound unto the chief priests?
That's what they said.
They didn't trust him. Ain't this the same one that was killing all this? But what are you doing here?
And some people may not even know about it, but they were
They
spreading
spread
gospel.
that. Yeah, they didn't know about it.
Spreading gospel.
Yeah, we'll do that wrong. We'll tell the bad. We'll tell the bad wrong.
Yeah.
And not the good. Yeah, they were saying, wasn't he the one that killed him? And now here he is. What is he doing? Is he trying to gather up some more to kill? That's what they was asking. What he call himself doing? Thank you, Pastor. That was the thing. That's the theme. Okay, we understand that the first outline, Paul's prayer and request, and then Paul's theme. He let us know the theme of Romans was salvation. Today's lesson is on how Paul viewed his evangelistic mission. Raises questions about modern evangelism. It raises a lot of questions because sometimes we used to think that that you go knocking on doors and, you know, and you hand out flyers. They have their place. But then I have to wonder, what are you doing on a daily basis?
A daily basis.
Who are you coming in contact
Yeah.
with? Because that message, the message of Jesus Christ, can be spread that way.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that you come in contact with, in my case, I don't come in contact with very many people in the course of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be I come in contact with 20, 30, 40 people a day.
Right.
And people see you, you know, and I use that example when I took my grandsons one time after Vacation Bible School, and we went to the Chinese restaurant, and the woman waited on the man, good-looking man, before she waited on me. So my witness was lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, my witness was lost.
Yeah.
I hit the table, scared the woman. Every time I went in that restaurant after that, she jumped. I hit the table so hard, and I told her, I'm standing right here in front of you, and you waiting on him. Everybody in the restaurant, even the Vacation Bible School students was there. And they, you know, my grandsons told me when we got in the car, your witness was shot. Your witness was shot. That's what they told me.
Didn't match your action.
That's exactly what you've been teaching us.
Didn't match your action.
Didn't work. It didn't work. And so you had to check yourself.
Right.
Yeah, you have to check yourself. Because we all in the process of becoming.
That's right.
We're all in the process, Michelle Obama, becoming. I want to be what he want me to be. I ain't there yet.
Right.
And while you look checking me, check yourself. Check yourself.
And Shirley, sometimes the people in your house,
Oh,
you can tell the folks you work with and the folks you live with, what they think about you sometimes reflect your lifestyle. Sometimes we go out in public and we put on a big show, but
Lord.
people that's working with you every day and folks that's living with you, they know you.
Well, sometimes that's the reason why we be wondering why parents get up and come to church and children at home.
Mm.
You know why? Because they done heard you talk about everybody at church.
One time my stepmother told Shirley, she said, y'all must talk about me when I ain't around, because she can tell the way the children looked at her.
That's right. That's right.
She said when the children looked at her.
Children will tell it, won't they? They will tell. They ain't got to say nothing. They'll just look at you. Yeah, they'll tell what the conversation is in their house. Reggie did that to Connie. This statement is made, and tell me, give me some feedback on this.
You got time.
He said, Paul uses an interesting word to describe his service to God, which literally means to serve as a priest. It is a Greek word used in the Septuagint. The Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures to refer to the service of priests in the temple. Paul said that he served God with my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
He considered all Christian service to be an act of worship. Does that bring a new light to you? All Christian service to be an act of worship.
So feeding the hungry, clothing the naked.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
All of that is an act of worship.
That's right.
Not what we do here.
Right.
Okay, not what we do here.
Right.
That is praise and worship.
Okay.
But it's what we do in the world.
That's right.
You know, how is evangelism manifested? Because it's an act of worship. Because of who we belong to. We don't belong to ourselves.
Well, wait a minute. You said, how did Paul say all spiritual service?
He said,
All is act of worship.
He said he considered all Christian service
All Christian service.
to be an act of worship. All Christian. Meals on wheels, visiting the sick,
That's right.
checking on the person. We have a list of, I think there was my head. We have a list of about 25 sick and shut in.
Right.
People that have not been back. Can you say that you at least checked on one? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Can you say that's an act of worship, y'all? When they hear your voice on the other end of the line and you tell them who you are, that's an act of worship. This is what Paul, do we feel that way? Do you understand that? Because there are a lot of times we think coming and singing and clapping and that, you know, that's praise, but it's beyond that. It's beyond that. It's whatever you do in your relationship with your family members, in your relationship in the world, on your job. Is it an act of worship? because it's an extension of who you are. It's an extension of who God is, because He lives in you. She's holding up the Bible. Yeah. The Bible. Paul insists that the gospel is for all people. Don't you wonder sometimes if your white brothers and sisters realize the gospel is for everybody? Sometimes I wonder if we really believe that.
I think it's a matter of how you interpret the gospel.
That's right.
And that has a lot to do with how some other folks believe. They interpret things. Somehow nowadays they've got to the point where they interpret the gospel to be in their favor at all times.
That's right.
That's dangerous.
And if you're a child of God, you
Second
have
Peter,
trials and tribulations.
chapter 3.
You're always going to be.
No, and that's another thing. Sometimes we think that there's gonna always be something's gonna be wrong. You're gonna have trials and tribulations.
That's right.
That's a part of living.
That's right.
You know, Lord, I've done what you told me to do, and I'm still. That's life. Some things happen in life. One thing that we need to understand is death is a part of living.
That's right.
I don't know where y'all
Well, we
got it twisted.
That's right.
My mama taught me when we was little, didn't she, Connie?
Yeah, the day you.
Little bitty children when our chickens used to die. We killed chicken, goldfish, parakeet, and we had all those, y'all. And every time they died, Mama said everything living gonna die.
everything gonna die.
And William was the biggest sinner. He was the one that preached. And Herbert would sing. William would preach the sermon. We'd have a funeral, y'all, and bury him in the neighbor's yard. But our parents taught us early that everything living, and I think that, you know, it's a part of who we are. And so sometimes when people die, we act like we're so shocked. It's a part of living.
That's right.
Guess what, Joe? You're gonna die one day.
That's right.
Okay.
Serve the house.
Yeah. We didn't come here to stay.
That's right.
We didn't come here to stay, Gottstein. I don't know about y'all. That's all right with me. Is it all right with you?
Yeah.
You didn't come here to stay. You need to make preparation. When you get ready, yes, ma'am.
And sometimes you hear people say, well, why did they die? Or, like they feel like it should always be because they're sick or something happened. Not realizing that, like you said, we all gonna die.
Gonna die.
They'll say, what was wrong with him? He died.
Yeah, he died. Yeah, what was
He was born.
He died. He was born.
He was born.
Yeah, he died.
He was
died.
born.
But you understand why we wrestle with death, because it was not God's intention that we would die in the garden. Y'all do understand
That's
that.
right.
So that's why.
Right.
I had to wrestle through that, because I couldn't understand why people got so throw up. He didn't intend for us to die. So it's something different for us. It's in our nature. We're saying what will happen, but God, that He intended for us to live forever. And because of the disobedience and the sin in the garden, now we die. Okay. Paul insists that the gospel is for all people, reminding Christians of the Great Commission, which is what? Go ye what? Matthew 28, 19 and 20. What does it say? Somebody find it for us if y'all don't know it.
Go and preach and teach them.
Baptized all nations.
That's all of us, disciples. Okay? Sometimes they'll say, why pastor baptized, and why is somebody not a deacon up in the water? I just said, what? Oh, you baptized? It didn't say you got to be a deacon. It said disciple.
Disciples.
Read it, y'all. I didn't make it up.
Yeah, disciples.
Read it. I didn't make it up.
And disciples are learners.
Learners, all of us. All of us. If you need somebody to help hold them, whoever can help hold them.
That's right.
Whoever can help hold them in the water. You ain't got to be no type of sacred shoe. Whoever can help hold them in the water.
Baptized in the river.
That's what it says. This week it says, write down a prayer seeking God's will for how you are to participate in the salvation of the world. Pray the prayer each day this week and listen for God's answer. And the way I view that is, the statement was made, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite.
One bite at a time. How do you save the world? One person at a time. People that you come in contact. I thought about something, and I'm gonna close. I thought about something. I come in contact with my grandson and my great-grandsons 2 or 3 times a week. And so one time, Sherry Martin had given me this really big, nice, leather-bound Bible. And I accidentally left it at my grandson's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't read that Bible on purpose. The Bible's just too heavy for me to carry. And so my grandson said to me, Granny, did you leave your Bible here to give me a message?
Mm.
And I said, perhaps it wasn't my message, but the message of the Father that sent me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he couldn't keep my Bible. I told him I'd get him another one. But he couldn't keep that one. But sometimes, it made me wonder, I come and bring his children, but what about him?
Mm-hmm.
What about him? And sometimes we get comfortable, don't we, in our own self?
Right.
And our children or our grandchildren, are going on their merry way.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not saying anything. Where they got baptized, we're talking about relationships. Don't you want that for your children? Don't you want that for your grandchildren? That they have a relationship with the Lord? I want it for mine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I really would like for them to love the Lord the way I do. Huh?
Right up.
Wouldn't you?
Okay.
But we're okay with them. Sometimes when they teenagers, we leave them in the bed sleep. We trot on the church. Huh? That's just something to think about.
Right.
And sometimes it's kind of hard for us to think about it, isn't it? Because I pray for them every morning and every night I pray for them. But I never say to them, what is your relationship?
But you train them up in the way they should go.
That's right.
Who trained them?
You brought them to church. You
Stop
brought
right there.
You brought their parents.
Right.
And the parents
Okay.
want to bring the children.
Yeah, but at some point the ball drops, y'all.
Okay.
Okay? If I brought them, I would feel okay. Now I brought Troy and
And
Sean.
when I said you brought Troy
Yeah,
and
Troy and
Sean,
Sean.
and Troy and Sean, it's up to them to bring Jonathan.
But we can't stop
and
like
then
that
up to
because
Jonathan to bring
that's not what our
Enzo.
lesson said.
No. I mean, but you got to live the life and set the example, but you can't go in there and force them to
Now, I'm not saying force them. It don't say force them.
No, it said
It said tell them.
tell them.
Compel them, I think is what
Compelling is almost demanding, ain't it?
no. Getting on their nerve.
But
That's
when
what I
they lived
think.
in my house, I compelled them.
Yeah, yeah.
My
In your
son,
house.
before he died, when I walked in his room on Sunday morning, he threw up his hand. He know what I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
and he started repeating it.
yeah. But that's compelling.
Okay.
Like the woman that went to the king over and over again.
Yeah, persistent.
Importunity.
That's what it said.
Mm-hmm. But that's just something. But any comments on the lesson? Any comments on the power of the gospel? Do we understand the power of the gospel to save us? The word.
Sister Teacher, go over the in focus. That's a good story.
Yeah, it is a good book.
Let's
It
dive
was.
into that for a
Cheryl
quick
was struggling with the sense that God wanted her to make herself available for greater forms of service. For greater forms of service. If she was already doing some service, but greater forms of service. Her period of intense prayer and fasting had revealed to her that God had more for her in store. As she looked at the more traditional areas of former church ministry, she did not see herself in any of these. She realized that preparation for her ministry probably meant that she had to go to seminary.
Go to seminary. Do something.
As Cheryl considered the possibilities for her life, she began to grow concerned about giving up her current job and her standard of living.
Right.
She had to give up,
Give it
huh?
up.
Got to give up something.
Yeah.
Got to give up something. You got to be willing to give up something. That's what it's saying. I worked so hard to achieve everything she thought. She also began to fear that her fiance, Dwayne, might not fit in. He might not understand.
Mhm.
Well, she had a lot to think about.
Yeah, she did.
She said,
Maybe a call for
no, maybe I'll skip it on. Am I willing to give up my career and the man I love to do the Lord's will?
Wow.
Lord have mercy.
She asked herself over and over again.
Yeah, over and over.
Cheryl grew embarrassed and ashamed as she wished she could readily respond, yes. But she wrestled with it, y'all.
Right.
We wrestled with that. As she pondered the matter over and over, she could reach no simple solution. Finally, she realized the dilemma was not hers to solve. Not hers to solve. She knew that God she served would show her right steps to take. But now she resolved, I'll take the first step. Whatever happens later, I have to trust Him that the Lord will work it out. He'll work it out, Walter.
Yeah.
He'll work it out. He'll bring you where you need to be.
Yeah.
But you got to trust and obey.
There's no other way.
Yeah, you got to trust and obey. He'll bring you around. He'll bring you full circle. When I retired, when I decided I wasn't going to do no nursing, I went into nursing when I was 19. And I said, 20 years, 10 years. That's a long time doing the same thing. I ain't going to be taking care of people all my life. He made me out of a lie.
He sure did.
Brought me full circle.
Full circle.
But then I started to realize taking care of people is what I do.
That's right.
It's kind of, for me, it's kind of like eating. Obviously, I don't have any problems eating. So, but taking care of people, being a caretaker, that is one of the gifts, y'all.
Yeah, that's a gift.
That's a gift. Everybody don't have it.
No.
And so I said, I'm not gonna be taking care of people all my life. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. That's exactly what you do. And then I started to realize that's what I do. That's what I do. I'm a caretaker. I'm a caretaker. And so sometimes we set our own. You know how when God called me to preach, y'all know the dilemma that I was in.
Of course.
In 1988, you realize the dilemma. I kept saying, first of all, I wasn't here at Ephesians. I kept saying at 14th Avenue, God, I know, we don't believe in female preachers. We're talking about mama. She didn't. My auntie said, people that were close to me.
Yeah.
People that were close to me. My pastor said, prepare yourself.
Okay.
Prepare yourself. It wasn't important what people thought.
That's right.
It wasn't important what people thought. And I caught it. I caught it close and far. Near and far. But God has a way, don't He?
Yeah.
He has a way of showing you. Not necessarily showing me, but showing people around me. And there were things that have happened, and he would say to me, didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Confirmation. And I'm not the only one that's happened to. There have been, all of us have had some experiences in life, like what Cheryl was talking about, where there's a greater calling on your life. And you have to realize, I can't do this by myself. And a lot of times it wasn't meant for you to do by yourself. We had to learn to lean and depend on God.
Sure, I had wrote an answer to the question. It said, what aspects of life hinder us from unabashedly following God's will for our lives and personal ministry? How do we push back against those hindrances?
Same way with the way she did.
Yeah, and sometimes it just comes our willingness to change and allow God to use us. And most time our fears are fears of man. It ain't fears of God.
Fears of us.
Fears of others. Fears of what they gonna say.
Yeah, whoever they don't bring up they.
Okay.
You know.